My mother-in-law got a job at my office. Then she started spreading rumors to get me fired. I loved my job. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't pay millions, but it was mine. I had worked my way up over 5 years, earned respect from my colleagues, built relationships with clients, and carved out a small corner of success for myself. My mother-in-law had always been curious about my work, asking questions at dinner, wanting to know the details of my day. I thought she was just being polite, taking an interest in my life. I didn't realize she was gathering intelligence. When she appeared in my office building, holding a new hire orientation packet, I assumed it was a coincidence. She was qualified for an entry-level position, she said. She just wanted to be closer to family. But within weeks, I started hearing whispers about myself, rumors about my competence, rumors about my professionalism, and the only person who could have started them was sitting in the cubicle 2 rows down from mine. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, casting long rectangles of light across my desk. I had arrived early, as I always did, to get a head start on the day. The office was quiet, the kind of peaceful silence that only existed before the chaos of emails and meetings and phone calls began. I poured myself a cup of coffee from the communal pot and settled into my chair, feeling the familiar satisfaction of being exactly where I was supposed to be. I had worked at Morrison & Associates for 5 years. I had started as an administrative assistant, answering phones and filing paperwork, and had worked my way up to a senior account manager position. It hadn't been easy. There had been long nights and early mornings, missed family dinners and canceled vacations, but I had done it. I had earned my place. My husband, Gregory, was proud of me. He had watched me struggle and succeed, had celebrated every promotion and every milestone. His mother, on the other hand, had always seemed ambivalent. She asked about my job, sure, but there was always a hint of something else in her voice, dismissiveness maybe, or competition. I had never been able to quite put my finger on it. I thought about Dolores as I scrolled through my emails. She had asked about my work again at dinner the previous weekend, probing for details about my clients, my projects, my relationships with my colleagues. I had answered vaguely, not wanting to share too much. Something about the way she asked always made me uncomfortable, like she was looking for ammunition rather than connection. Good morning. A cheerful voice broke through my reverie. I looked up to see my coworker, Margaret, standing in my doorway with a cup of coffee in each hand. She handed one to me, her eyes bright with excitement. Have you heard? We're getting a new hire in the admin department. Word is she's got some serious experience. I took the coffee, grateful for the warmth. Oh yeah? Who is it? Margaret shrugged. Don't know yet. Just heard through the grapevine. They're starting orientation today. I didn't think much of it. Morrison & Associates was a growing company, and new hires were a regular occurrence. I finished my coffee, dove into my work, and forgot about the conversation entirely, until 3 hours later, when I walked into the break room and found my mother-in-law standing by the coffee machine, holding a stack of orientation materials and wearing a smile that made my blood run cold. Hello. Darling, Dolores said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Surprised to see me? I stood frozen in the doorway, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. Dolores? What are you doing here? She laughed, a light, tinkling sound that I had heard 1,000 times at family dinners. I work here now. I got a job in the administrative department. Isn't that wonderful? We'll be able to see each other every day. I felt the walls closing in around me. You applied for a job here? Without telling me? Dolores' smile faltered slightly. Well, I wanted to surprise you. I know how much you love this company, and I thought it would be nice to be closer to family. Gregory said you've been so stressed lately. I thought I could help. I didn't know what to say. My mother-in-law was standing in my office break room, wearing a company badge, holding a new hire packet. She had inserted herself into my professional life without a single conversation, without any consideration for how I might feel about it. You got the job, I said, my voice flat. Of course I did, she said brightly. I have years of administrative experience. They were thrilled to have me, and I told them how wonderful my daughter-in-law is. They were so excited to meet you. I felt a knot of anxiety form in my stomach. She had mentioned me. Of course she had. Now my colleagues would know I was related to the new hire, would make assumptions, would connect us in ways I didn't want to be connected. That's great, I managed. I'm sure you'll do well here. Dolores beamed. I'm sure I will too, and we'll have so much fun working together. It'll be like having a second mother in the office. I escaped the break room as quickly as I could, my heart pounding. I found Margaret in the hallway and pulled her aside. You know that new hire? I asked, my voice hushed. It's my mother-in-law. Margaret's eyes went wide. Your mother-in-law? Like your husband's mother? The very same, I said. She applied for a job here without telling me. She's in the admin department. Margaret let out a low whistle. That's awkward. Are you okay with it? No, I admitted. I'm not, but I don't know what to do. She's already got the job. I can't just tell HR to fire her because she's related to me. Margaret squeezed my arm. Well, just keep your head down and stay professional. It'll be fine. But it wasn't fine. Within the first week, I started hearing things. Whispers in the break room, sideways glances in meetings, a colleague asking me if I was doing okay with a look of pity that made my stomach churn. At first, I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I had always had a good reputation at the company. People liked me. They respected me. I had never given anyone reason to doubt my professionalism or my competence. Then one afternoon, I overheard 2 coworkers talking in the hallway. She just doesn't seem like she can handle the pressure anymore, one of them said. I heard she's been taking extended lunches and leaving early without telling anyone. The other coworker nodded. And I heard she's been bad-mouthing the management. Someone said she called our director incompetent to her face. My blood ran cold. I stepped out of the break room and confronted them. Excuse me? Who told you that? The two women looked at each other, then back at me. I'm sorry, one of them said, her face reddening. I didn't mean to gossip. I just heard it from someone in admin. Who? I demanded. Who told you that? She hesitated, then said the name I had been dreading. Dolores. Your mother-in-law. She just mentioned it in passing. She said she was worried about you. I felt the room tilt around me. Dolores was spreading rumors about me. She was telling my colleagues that I was incompetent, that I was disrespecting management, that I was falling apart at work. I marched straight to the admin department and found Dolores at her desk, typing away with an innocent expression on her face. We need to talk, I said, my voice tight. Now. She looked up, her smile wide and guileless. Of course, sweetheart. What's wrong? You look upset. I leaned in, keeping my voice low. Why are you telling people that I'm incompetent? Why are you spreading rumors about me? Dolores's expression shifted to one of wounded innocence. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've only ever said lovely things about you. I'm so proud of my daughter-in-law. Everyone knows that. Someone just told me you said I was taking extended lunches and bad-mouthing management. Those are lies. And you know they are. Dolores tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. Maybe you're just feeling a little sensitive, dear. I know the job has been stressful for you. I was only trying to help. I told them you've been going through a hard time. I thought they would be sympathetic. I stared at her, speechless. She was twisting everything. She had created a narrative of my professional decline and was feeding it to my colleagues, all while pretending to be a concerned family member. Stay away from me, I finally said. Stay away from my coworkers and stop talking about me. I walked away, but I knew it wasn't over. Dolores had planted the seeds of doubt, and they were already taking root. My reputation, carefully built over 5 years, was being destroyed one whispered word at a time. And the worst part? She was doing it with a smile. The weeks that followed were a slow descent into professional hell. I tried to ignore the whispers, to focus on my work, to prove that I was the same competent, reliable employee I had always been. But every day brought a new challenge. A new rumor, a new doubt that I couldn't shake. It started small. A project I had been managing for months suddenly got reassigned to another colleague without explanation. My director, a woman named Celeste who had always been supportive of my work, started looking at me differently. Her eyes lingered on me during meetings, filled with something that looked like concern. How are you doing, really? She asked me one afternoon, pulling me aside after a team meeting. I've noticed you seem a little distracted lately. Is everything okay? I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to tell her that my mother-in-law was systematically destroying my reputation, but I knew how it would sound. Excuses, paranoia, blaming someone else for my own perceived failings. I'm fine, I said, forcing a smile. Just a little tired. Nothing I can't handle. Celeste nodded, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Well, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. You know that? I thanked her and walked away, feeling the weight of the conversation pressing down on me. She didn't believe me. She thought I was struggling. And I knew exactly who had put that thought in her head. Dolores was everywhere. She had made a point of ingratiating herself with the rest of the admin staff, bringing in baked goods, offering to help with extra projects, always wearing that bright, innocent smile. People liked her, they trusted her, and they believed the things she said about me. I'm just so worried about her, I heard Dolores say one day, her voice carrying through the thin walls of my office. She's been working so hard, and I think it's starting to take a toll. She's always been so sensitive. I just hope she doesn't have a breakdown. My breakdown. She was preparing the ground for my breakdown. If I ever lost my temper, if I ever confronted her publicly, she would point to it as proof that I was unstable. She was creating a narrative, and I was walking right into it. I started keeping a record. Every time I heard a new rumor, I wrote it down. Every time a coworker looked at me strangely, I made a note. I documented dates, times, and the names of people who had heard Dolores's stories. I was building a case, but I didn't know what I was building it for. One evening, I came home exhausted and found Gregory in the living room, scrolling through his phone. I dropped my bag by the door and collapsed onto the couch beside him. Your mother is destroying my career, I said, my voice flat. She's spreading lies about me to my coworkers. She's telling everyone I'm incompetent. Gregory looked up, his brow furrowed. What are you talking about? She said things were going great at work. She told me you two were bonding. I let out a bitter laugh. Bonding? She's been systematically destroying my reputation for weeks. She said I was taking extended lunches. She said I was bad-mouthing management. She told my director I was on the verge of a breakdown. Gregory's face went pale. That doesn't sound like her. Are you sure you're not overreacting? I sat up, my anger flaring. Overreacting? Gregory, I'm about to lose my job. My director is looking at me like I'm a liability. My colleagues are avoiding me, and it's all because of your mother. He held up his hands defensively. Okay, I believe you. I just don't understand why she would do something like that. I don't know either, I said, my voice cracking. But she's doing it, and I need you to talk to her. I need you to tell her to stop. Gregory agreed to talk to his mother, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. Dolores had a way of twisting things, of making herself the victim. She would cry and deny and deflect, and Gregory would feel guilty for even questioning her. The call happened 2 days later. I wasn't there for it, but Gregory told me everything. She denied it, he said, his voice hollow. She said you've been paranoid lately. She said she's only ever tried to help you. She said you're jealous of her because she's making friends at the office and you're not. She said I'm jealous of her. I was incredulous. I've been working at that company for 5 years. I have friends. I have a career. Why would I be jealous of her? Gregory shrugged helplessly. I don't know. I don't understand it. I just know that she's my mother, and I don't know how to fix this. I looked at him, at the man I had married, and felt a wave of disappointment wash over me. He was caught in the middle, torn between his loyalty to me and his love for his mother. But I needed him to choose. I needed him to stand by me. I'm going to talk to HR, I said finally. I'm going to tell them everything. And if your mother gets fired because of it, that's on her. Gregory's eyes widened. You can't do that. She's family. She's destroying my career, Gregory. She's not acting like family. She's acting like an enemy. The next morning, I requested a meeting with HR. I walked into the conference room with my notes, my documentation, my carefully constructed case. The HR representative, a woman named Cynthia, listened patiently as I laid out everything Dolores had done. I have evidence, I said, sliding a folder across the table. Names of people who heard her rumors, dates of when she spread them. I need this to stop. Cynthia reviewed the folder, her expression unreadable. This is serious, she said finally. We'll investigate. In the meantime, I recommend you keep your distance from your mother-in-law. Don't engage with her. Let us handle it. I left the meeting feeling a mix of relief and dread. The wheels were in motion. But I knew that Dolores wouldn't go quietly. She would fight back. She would twist the narrative. She would make me the villain, and I was right. The investigation took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of walking on eggshells, of avoiding Dolores's gaze, of wondering every day if I would walk into the office and find a termination letter on my desk. The tension was unbearable. I barely slept. I barely ate. I was a shell of myself, and everyone could see it. Dolores, meanwhile, was the picture of wounded innocence. She had stopped spreading rumors, at least openly, but she had found new ways to undermine me. She would cry in the break room telling anyone who would listen that I was bullying her. She would leave passive-aggressive notes on my desk. She would make comments in meetings that were just innocuous enough to be dismissed as harmless. She's been so cold to me, I heard her telling one of her admin colleagues. I just don't understand what I did wrong. I only ever wanted to be close to her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell everyone in the room exactly what she had done, but I held back. I knew she was trying to provoke me, to make me lose my temper in front of witnesses. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. The day of the HR decision arrived. I was called into Cynthia's office, my heart pounding in my chest. Cynthia was sitting behind her desk, her expression grave. She gestured for me to sit. We've completed our investigation, she said, her voice neutral, and we've made a decision. I held my breath, waiting for the blow. Your mother-in-law has been terminated, Cynthia continued. We found sufficient evidence that she was spreading false information about you and creating a hostile work environment. Her behavior was completely unacceptable. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, so intense that I almost cried. Thank you, I managed. Thank you for taking this seriously. Cynthia nodded. I'm sorry it took so long. These investigations are always difficult, but we believe we made the right decision. I walked out of Cynthia's office feeling like I had just been given a second chance, but the relief was short-lived. I knew that Dolores would be furious, and I knew that she would blame me. I found Gregory waiting for me in the parking lot. He had taken the afternoon off, anticipating the outcome. His face was pale, his hands trembling. She called me, he said, his voice barely a whisper. She's been terminated. She's at home crying. She says you ruined her life. I looked at him, at the man I loved, and felt a pang of guilt. He was caught in the middle, trying to reconcile his love for me with his loyalty to his mother. I didn't ruin her life, I said quietly. She did that to herself. She made choices. She faced the consequences. Gregory nodded slowly. I know she did, but she's still my mother, and I don't know how to fix this. We drove home in silence. The house felt empty, the tension hanging in the air like a physical presence. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. The next day, Dolores showed up at our house. She was wild-eyed, her hair disheveled, her composure completely shattered. She had been drinking. I could smell it on her breath. You! She spat, pointing at me. You did this. You destroyed my career. You took everything from me. I stood my ground, my voice calm. You did this to yourself, Dolores. You spread lies about me. You tried to get me fired. You made choices. And now you're dealing with the consequences. She lunged at me, her hands outstretched, her face twisted with rage. Gregory stepped between us, blocking her path. Mom, stop, he shouted. You need to leave. Now. Dolores collapsed into a chair, sobbing uncontrollably. I only wanted to be close to you, she wailed. I only wanted to be part of your life. You both pushed me away. Gregory knelt beside her, his voice gentle. Mom, we didn't push you away. You pushed us away. You did terrible things and we couldn't ignore them, but that doesn't mean we don't love you. I watched the scene unfold, feeling a mixture of anger and pity. Dolores had made her choices, but she was still Gregory's mother. She was still part of our family, no matter how much she had hurt us. Mom, I said, my voice soft, we need to set some boundaries. If you want to be part of our lives, you need to respect us. You need to stop trying to control us. You need to get help. Dolores looked up at me, her eyes red and swollen. You would still want me in your life after everything I did? I hesitated. The answer wasn't simple. Part of me wanted to cut her out entirely, to protect myself from any future harm. But another part of me, the part that believed in family, wanted to give her a chance. I want you to be healthy, I said. I want you to be the mother-in-law I thought you could be. But that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take work. It's going to take therapy. And it's going to take a commitment from you to change. Dolores was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I'll do it," she whispered. "I'll get help. I don't want to lose my son. I don't want to lose my family." It wasn't a perfect resolution. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was a start. Dolores started therapy. She started taking responsibility for her actions. She started rebuilding the trust she had broken. The process was slow. Painfully slow. There were setbacks and arguments and tears, but gradually things began to improve. Dolores stopped trying to control our lives. She stopped spreading rumors. She started treating me like a person instead of a threat. I never fully trusted her again. The wounds she had inflicted were too deep, too painful. But I learned to coexist with her. I learned to set boundaries and enforce them. I learned that I could love someone and still protect myself from them. The job at Morrison & Associates survived the ordeal. My reputation was damaged, but it wasn't destroyed. My colleagues, the ones who had believed the rumors, slowly came back around. They saw the truth. They saw that I was still the same person I had always been. And Dolores? She eventually found another job at a company far away from mine. She still tried to meddle in our lives, but the distance made it easier. She learned slowly and painfully that she couldn't control everything. It wasn't the relationship I had wanted. It wasn't the family I had dreamed of, but it was what we had. And for now, it was enough. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning the battle. It's learning to live with the scars and still find a way forward.